African Off-Road Championship got underway in the Western Transvaal yesterday with the Castrol Baberspan 500, which has attracted an entry of 194 car and motorcycle competitors. The 1989 Castrol Baberspan was marred by the deaths of 2 motorcycle riders, and the organisers have this year taken steps to improve on safety. Mati Basson has the details.
Man, ja, ons het natuurlijk verlede jaar vreselike probleme gehad daarmee. Maar ons dink hierdie jaar sal dit beter gaan. Ons het ons uiterste bes gedoen. Ons het vir die trauma center geskakel deur 'n mediese dokter van ons en hulle het vir ons 'n helikopter gestuur, geborg deur 'n maatskappy. Ons borgers self het ook tot hulle uiterste toe gegaan en 'n ekstra helikopter gegee vir die afvoer van beseerdes. Ons het nog 4 ambulanses op die grond om mense wat beseer is weg te vat na enige plek toe, enige hospitaal in die omgewing. Ons is natuurlik oor 'n baie wye gebied, so hulle sal na verskillende hospitale toe gaan. Ons het ook 8 verpleegsters op die roete by verskillende punte. Ons het ook noodhelpers. Ons het 5 gekwalifiseerde paramedics en ek dink aan die mediese kant is dit omtrent vol die meeste wat ons nog gedoen het en ek dink wat in enige veldren ooit gedoen was.
Off-road chairman Richard Schilling comments about route marking.
Major change is that it is consistent, it's much more logical. People will be able to see when there's a turn coming up. We have where we can. Actually, if there is 2 options to drive down, we're going to have no-go marking. Fences are very much more clearly marked. Caution markers we found last year, we're working. We've actually got less caution markers, but when we do have one, you can be sure there's a major problem.
The scrutineers I see on this event are already tightening up on various angles of safety, such as firewalls on motor cars. They're making sure the cars have first aid kits, proper safety belts, decent seats. They're checking things like that now, which really in the past wasn't checked.
If the marking's as good as I said it would be, I don't think we're going to have any problems with injuries whatsoever in this race.
Only problem with off-road racing is there's such a big distance between marshal points. If someone does get injured, it usually takes a while to get help to him. So if it is a bad injury, you need to get it there quickly. So hopefully this year they are better equipped and we can prevent that problem.
Toyota crew Philip Malon and Richard Leek were first off for the 60-kilometre loop in the vicinity of Leeuwpan to determine the starting order for today's main race. Malon and Leek in their turbocharged Toyota Hilux had to be content with the 3rd fastest time overall and the fastest time in Class 6. Klaus Degener and former off-road motorcyclist Hilton Beattie in their Duckham's Chenoweth set the fastest time overall and in Class 8, despite the fact that Degener was suffering from a bout of food poisoning. We spoke to Degener after he'd received medical treatment.
Well, unfortunately, we stopped to eat something on the way here yesterday at Tossed Chicken Mayonnaise, and the chicken must have been off and the mayonnaise covering it. I didn't taste it, so it hit me at 3 this morning, and I've just been doing my thing all day long.
Derek Pinoy and Jack Purchase in their Honeylube Spider got lost early on and had their work cut out to overtake Robin Yates and Nardis Alberts to claim the 2nd fastest time overall. The 1989 Castrol Baberspan 500 winners, Api Reyneke and Lucas Dreyer, in their BP Nissan Safari, had to be content with 2nd place in Class 6 after being delayed with wheel bearing problems and the odd navigational blunder. Robin Yates and Nardis Alberts in their Durex Raceco set up the 3rd fastest time in Class 8, but a decision to wash their car in the Leeuwpan almost proved to be their undoing.
Well, we went down to wash the car and got stuck in the mud, and it was the most embarrassing moment we've had in a long time. But anyway, thanks to Derek and a few of the guys for getting us up. We just made impound. Like, I was starting to get ever worried about that. I feel that tall, absolutely that tall.
5th quickest overall and first in Class 4 was Stratford Vogt and Guido de Greef in their radical imported Toyota Racer. Linton Draper and Steve Vermaak, also in an imported truck, were 2nd quickest but were forced to withdraw with a broken piston ring. Dave and Greg Gurney finished up 3rd fastest in Class 4 in their Isuzu Bucky. Harry Rocket Roscoe is rated as one of the fastest drivers in off-road racing and went on to set the quickest time in Class 9 for single-seater space frames, ahead of Mervyn Woods in his Sandmaster and Jack Spencer, also in a Sandmaster, who has dispensed with the services of a Navigator this season. Spencer has also switched from Rover V8 power to 2.4-litre VW power. Father and son pair Glenn and Steve Parker in a Kango Orco had a trouble-free run on their way to first place in Class 7 and finished ahead of Andre Buerta and Chris Ruas, also in an Orco. Former off-road champions Wilfred Westlau and Mrs. Dagmar Blankner from Lesotho made a successful return to off-road racing by setting up the quickest time in Class 2 in their VW Beetle and held off a strong challenge from Abdul Bariawa and Hanif Hussein, also in a VW. The seemingly unbeatable pair of Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser clinched the honours in Class 5 in spectacular fashion, ahead of the Toyota Works entry of Bill Angus and Derek Weatherall. Angus's Hilux bodywork appeared little worse for wear. Third place in Class 5 went to Theo Coetzee and Ian Wedderburn in their colourful Isuzu Bucky. Toyota had another successful run in Class 3 with Nick Allant and Arie Redlinghuis and Piet Putter and Billy Duploy finishing in first and second place ahead of the Nissan driven by Alan Elston and Vic Comfer. In the budget single and twin-seater class, Jackie Weldon and Andy Peaceful in their Mindwinder finished ahead of Johan and Ferdi Pieterse in their VW Orco and the Sandmaster Baberspan driver Henny de Villiers, while in Class 1, Jan van Wyk and Frans Dekker in yet another Toyota Hilux took the honours. The ultra-competitive motorcycle category sees many rider and team changes, with a number of old rivalries renewed.
Well, this year things are a little bit different. Jeremy Davies has moved down from the 500 class into the 250 class, and Willie Island's now gone from the 250 onto the 500. So my biggest competition is Jeremy Davies, because he's in my class. You know, it is nice to win overall. I mean, that's what we come here for. But Jeremy Davies is my big danger man for this race.
The 250 class was the first to come under starters' orders, with Alfie Cox heading the field on his Drivelines Kawasaki. Cox was closely followed by former teammate Jeremy Davies, now riding for the KTM team, and from the start the pressure was on, with Cox coming in first overall and first in the 250 class. Davies powered his Greenup KTM into second place overall and in the 250 class 9 seconds behind Cox. Lesotho star Patrick Andrews had a steady ride into third place in the 250 class on his Winston Yamaha. Next off was the over 250 class with favourite Errol Dalton on the Bird Paradise Kawasaki first away. And this bird's eye view provides one with an idea of the high speeds attained by these motorcycles. Former motocross star Gary Peterson has turned his talents to off-road racing and powered his way to the second fastest time in the over 250 class ahead of Kevin Tebbett. Ronald Bailey was a surprise leader in the 200 class, with veteran Joe van Altena showing many a young rider their way home to record the second fastest time in the class. In Yamaha's debut in the 200 class, Richard Manning recorded the third fastest time. Gary Lipchick believes in taking a friend along for the ride. The experimental class included 2 sidecar and 2 Suzuki quad racer entries, with Billy Coetzee in fine form on his way to setting the fastest time in the class.
Ja,